So, I feel like that before we start to talk about Melissa Etheridge and Bring Me Some Water, we should update last week's story.
The chickens.
Yes.
Chickens. More than one chicken.
So last week we had one chicken that just showed up.
Yep.
This week we have two.
Yep.
We were just hanging out outside, minding our business.
With Henrietta.
Having a drink.
Yep.
In our gazebo. And
Yep.
up walks a chicken.
Another chicken.
Another chicken.
Distinctly different from
And
Henrietta.
We're not very close to our neighbors, so I'm not really sure.
We don't technically have
Possibly
any
a
neighbors.
neighbor that we knew had chickens. They had their house for sale. Possibly they
moved
left
away.
and left their chickens, but we're not sure.
Yep.
So
We
anyhow,
thought
we're learning to care for
maybe
chickens.
also that somebody thought that they were roosters because they have both crowed. And we learned through just a touch of research that there are hens that definitely crow, especially if they're older laying hens or if there's certain breeds of hens, both sexes crow,
do.
which I didn't know. So, or if the hen feels like she is in charge, if she is an alpha hen, she will crow.
If you want to leave a donation to Dave and Ashley's rescue fund, because
Chicken fund,
six cats and 2 chickens in. Also, we've had cows and dogs through the ages.
yes, yeah,
Our Venmo is below.
yeah.
You can always Venmo us. It's much appreciated.
If you wanted to go, like, if you want to tip us as musicians, cool, thank you. If you want your tip to go toward the animals, please specify the animals. So chickens, cats.
We'll get them treats.
And we'll show you whatever treats.
Or some necessity like feeders.
Yeah, we're going to start.
Things.
I think we're going to try and start an Amazon wish list or something like that. If you guys are interested at all, we're not trying to push any.
At the very least,
animal
we'll
rescue
send pictures. We'll try to put some pictures up. Maybe in this video, maybe even now.
Maybe.
I'll have to see what I can do.
Maybe, yeah.
When I edit.
So just so you know, Henrietta is the first chicken that showed up, and we weren't sure to begin with if she was a hen or a rooster because there was crowing involved. So we did have to do some research. So we just called her Henry. We weren't sure if it was with an I or with a Y, but it is. We are pretty sure she is female. And then Chicken Jane is the second one that showed up, and we kind of feel like they're both maybe crowing because there's more around. We've seen other chickens
at least 2 more
like down in the road in the woods, like next to the creek on nobody's property. So there may be more chickens.
Maybe more chickens to report next week. Who knows? I have to see the others in a couple days.
So bring me some water.
Yeah.
Which we have done for the chickens. They have lots of water and
yes.
they're good.
That's how this week's tie-in. Bring the chickens some water.
We have.
Because they keep spilling it in a pie pan, so we had to invest in a water
An actual waterer.
So, anyhow, bring me some water. Melissa Etheridge has always been a favorite of mine. Melissa, I was equated her with Bruce Springsteen, which she herself will say was a major influence for her. She's even covered a couple of his songs in her history. So,
and you know I love Bruce.
And I know you love Bruce, so there's a good tie-in.
Yeah.
I think her first couple albums are excellent. You know, I lost track of her after maybe 4 or 5 albums, but I've seen her in concert, and I think she puts on a really good show. It's
really strange how we do that. Like, we have an artist that we're very invested in, that we love, that there's no other way to say it than invested in. We are rooting for them. We want them to do well. We want to consume their music, and for whatever reason, it's like our brain gets on a detour and goes elsewhere. And it's not that we don't like them or that we're not as invested in their success, but we're not moving forward alongside
Sometimes for me, their success outpaces my willingness to want to spend money. If that makes sense. Like, their ticket prices become high. In fact, you know, I was noticing that actually, I was thinking it'd be nice to see Melissa in concert again. Mm-hmm. And I see that she's actually touring with Jewel, who I've never seen in concert, and I thought that would be an interesting concert. I've always appreciated Jewel as a songwriter.
I'm trying to imagine because Melissa has this really, like, emotional sounding voice, like the way that her voice has got a little bit of a grit to it, a little bit of I hesitate to say abrasiveness because that's not exactly, it doesn't scratch the brain the wrong way. It's just got a bit of gravel to it, a little gutturalness to it. And Jewel, she has like the polar opposite. I think of like Glass, like really ethereal, very clear,
I think of
not
Jewel
gravelly at all.
singing songs like a bird, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what would Mellissa be singing songs
She
as?
sings songs like
A different bird.
a different bird. Like an
It's
eagle.
a different bird.
Like
yeah.
an eagle.
Yeah. Like still bird,
Powerful,
just more like bird of
powerful
prey.
and strong.
Yeah. Yeah,
Where
exactly.
Jewel is strong, but in a different way. I think they're both very
like Canary.
I think they're both very representative of like strong females.
Absolutely,
I've
yeah.
always associated them both with strong females in very different kind of ways, I guess. So,
this song, I feel like this song in particular, Somebody Bring Me Some Water, is really a well told emotional story. I feel like imagining somebody that you love with somebody else that they're interested in is just gut wrenching. And you do feel like you're on fire and like you need help from somewhere and there is no help to be had. It's just pain.
It's pretty well conveyed. I think a lot of her songs are well written like that, where it's like she definitely shows a lot of desire through her music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think like she has a very
expressive that way, yeah,
emotive way of phrasing
mm-hmm.
the things.
Mm-hmm.
Say the things. A lot like Bruce. You know, it's like tell stories of people that you can relate to. You know, so even if you can't put yourself exactly in their shoes, you understand where they're coming from, their feelings, and they portray, or I guess relay, the human emotion and condition very well.
Well, I was reading that this was on her debut album in 1988, and that the record company, if I'm reading this correctly, they rejected her initial debut album and they asked for more material. And she only had 4 days in which to produce more material. And I don't know if she writes songs like we do. Like she had bits and pieces like laying around and she worked them up to be a complete song. Or maybe she had the song completed. She just didn't feel like putting it on the album. Maybe it was too close to her.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't want to be that vulnerable.
Was it the song?
Yes, this was at least one of them. So this was part of the new material that went into the record company saying yes to greenlighting her album.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting because I would assume that a lot of people that have their first album have multiple, especially in those days, like you weren't just able to record an album material, so you would keep writing. And you know, I think that like there's an old saying that's very true. That is, you have a lifetime to write your first album, and then 1 year to write your second album.
Yeah,
you know,
we haven't done that though. Like our Sugarland Blue has.
No, because of not having record labels, we just kind of proceeded at our own pace and what we feel.
It seems to be about 3 years.
We could have definitely produced them faster, but I think what slows us down is, well, especially in the past, has been everyday life and the lack of finances to produce an album a year.
That's part of it.
You know, but everyday life, like getting in the way of the time to produce an album every year.
We
certainly had the material to probably put out more albums and maybe look to do that in the future.
Also, perhaps, because we do keep a lot of things, because we are independent, right? We don't have a separate sound engineer or producer or all these things. Like, in general, you wear many hats.
We can't just record and then walk away and wait for the album to come out.
Yes.
It would be a different story.
So it also takes a lot of... you have to walk away from it in order to engineer it properly. Otherwise, you get ear fatigue and begin to miss things. So you have to walk away and let your ears rest a bit just as a human being.
Yeah.
And also as an artist, the thing I've found that I struggle with and I've watched you struggle with is letting it go, like leaving it alone. This is now finished because we're always getting better. and we're always wanting to maybe add a little thing in there, add an extra flourish or a this or that, or take something out of it, or keep improving on it to our taste, right? That can be endless. You can improve on a song to the end of time and just only have worked on the one song. You have to turn
on your producer hat, really, to get stuff ended, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, babe, sometimes, like, it's hard to distinguish when you put the producer hat on, like, when you're just pushing through to see it ended, but you might actually have a better idea versus, like, maybe, you know, like in the beginning, like you just want to keep continuing and refining and like, oh, this could be better, oh, this could be better, oh, this could be better, and you keep changing and changing and changing endlessly. Then sometimes you put the producer hat on and then you look back and you say, well, maybe I should have changed it one more time, you know? So it's hard to find that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to have that outside perspective, for sure.
I think we have come to a peace with a lot of that, though, and understanding that the studio recording for us is the baby picture of what the song will become. So I think in having sort of that philosophy about our music, that's helped us. But I think for a lot of indie artists, I think that it's a challenge to, and you also don't want to step on your own toes. You want there to be space for that creativity to blossom and be something good. You're not just trying to rush things out there just because it's such a consumeristic society. I want something relevant and something of a certain caliber to be out there, you know.
You take pride in.
Something that I don't go, ooh, that part every time I listen to it.
Right.
Because that's terrible. What a terrible feeling that would be.
I think that, like, a lot of artists have that. I mean, you're always going to look back and see something you could do differently.
Sure, differently is okay, but I think that we work really hard. I guess what I'm trying to say is we work really hard to make sure there's nothing wrong, just overtly wrong that's out there, and that takes quite a bit of time when you're wearing all the hats for your project.
I think, well, because rock is a perspective. I think a lot of times, so you have to figure out what you're okay with and what you're not.
Yeah, true enough.
But, yeah. So I guess let us know what you think of Mellissa Etheridge, what you think of this song,
Chickens.
what you'd like to see us do